All right, Cr'aig, you can just stop recording. We have to let you go. I'm sorry to say we can't continue to do this podcast, being that WotC apparently is now going to be the owners of all the material because it's D&D related. So, just saying.
Cr'aig isn't.
It's the end of the world. It's the end of the world.
But Cr'aig's not D&D related, is he? Did we make him with the OGL? Did we make him under OGL 1.0A?
Well, okay. I guess Cr'aig, you could stick around. I never actually got around to writing up your character sheet. I haven't done that yet. So you're currently not licensed or owned by WotC whatsoever. So you still have a job. Good job, buddy.
So what's going on, Grumpy Dungeon Master Jay?
There's all sorts of interesting news this week, Grumpy Dungeon Master Christopher.
We forgot last time, so I made sure to get in the intro this time.
Yep. Like the news is interesting, and there's kind of two parts to the news, I think, of the OGL thing, and we'll get into all the details here shortly. But it's the little bit that's been leaked of interest on the OGL, and then it's the massive reaction of everybody in the gaming community to this, like 2 paragraphs of info that are supposedly real. Like, we don't even know for certain that they are.
Well, so here's the synopsis. There was a rumor that the OGL was changing, and that it was changing.
Explain what the OGL is for anyone who doesn't know already.
Well, we did that last time we talked about the OGL. But anyways, it's the Open Gaming License, and it was created by Wizards of the Coast, I believe around 2000 or something like that.
Right around there.
To basically allow people to use the base systems that make up Dungeons and Dragons to create whatever they wanted with it. It's what many companies have used to create their own game systems, like Pathfinder. And it's been around for a long time. Now, the rumor is that WotC is going to be changing the OGL in a drastic way in order to basically rein in any future competition, and at the same time, they're going to basically revoke the previous gaming license so that no one can use it anymore. Now, it's a very general statement, and it's not all true. There's a lot of like hearsay and a lot of like, I got an internal leaked document that says this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah.
And IO9 was the one who said that they got the leaked document, and they wrote this nice big article about it. People are doing lots of researches and debating about it, and basically lawyers are keying in. And
yeah, I've seen a lot of like normally on my YouTube feed, I don't even have D&D lawyer stuff, and it's just been popping up all week.
And it's understandable because it's a big thing. It's a very, very big thing. But really, until something happens officially, it's all kind of just hearsay.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of disappointing thing about it, is that like everybody should be worried, but at the same time, at the moment, there's nothing to worry about because nothing is said and done.
And I don't have it here in front of me because I'm a bad podcast host. If the little blurb that I have seen is actually part of the OGL update, and if that is the final version of it, then yes, we absolutely should be concerned, because it would effectively give WotC rights to anything that is created through the OGL. And that's a lot.
Well, it's not that it gives them the rights to it. It allows them to basically come back and make a profit off of
there was some of it. Like I said, I don't have it in front of me. There was some of it that would effectively allow them to use anything created. Maybe not anything, but certain things under the OGL they would be able to utilize. So, if you make a character in a book that you create under the OGL, they would then have access to it.
Right. So,
And then there's the major issue of them effectively taking a percentage of their competitors, money. I had heard the number was 1%. Who really knows?
well, when we talked about it in passing, I compared the OGL changes that were rumored to the Unreal Engine
Mhm.
license that people use. If you make a game using the Unreal Engine, once you break $1 million of profit, you get to start paying Epic 1%.
Yeah.
Okay, and they, again, much like the intent of the OGL, is they want people to use the Unreal Engine to make and be creative. So when you reach that 1%, you just pay that over.
Part of the
Now,
part of the problem was this one, the Hasbro one, was based on revenue, not profit.
so is the Epic one. That's not an issue.
Well,
The
no,
issue was is
revenue
that
doesn't mean that you've made a cent. Revenue means that if there's
correct.
if you spent $750,000 to make a game and it hits $750,000, you then have to pay them 1% of that, even though you've made
Yes.
no money.
No, the thing with the OGL is that there was an undisclosed amount that you'd have to pay. Again, it's all hearsay and rumor, so no
Yeah,
one knows.
yeah. So
But
everybody take this with a grain of salt. This
people
is
were throwing out 1%. People were throwing out 25%. Who knows? I mean, none of it's been said and done.
yep.
Does the OGL need to be updated to reflect new and changing times, like VTTs and video games and stuff like that?
Mhm.
Kind of, yeah, it does.
Yep.
But
I won't argue with that.
on the other hand, the core issue of the whole thing is that this rumored OGL, I believe they use the word, revokes any previous OGL.
Yeah.
All right. And the creator of the original OGL is a man named Ryan Dancy. He was vice president of Wizards of the Coast when it was written. And he is on record stating multiple times, and I'll even read his statement. It says, "Yeah, my public opinion is that Hasbro does not have the power to deauthorize a version of the OGL. If that had been a power we wanted to reserve for Hasbro, we would have enumerated it in the license. I'm on record numerous places in email and blogs and interviews saying the license could never be revoked." If you read Section 9 of the current OGL, all right, it says the following: updating the license. Wizards or its designated agents may publish updated versions of this license. You may use any authorized version of this license to copy, modify, and distribute any open game content originally distributed under any version of this license. Now, if they unauthorize the previous OGLs, if they're even able to do that legally,
Mhm.
then this one no longer applies. But if they just revoke it and say, no, you can't use that one anymore, yeah, you still can, because this license says that you still can.
Yeah, and that's really going to be the whole kicker of this
Yeah.
thing. If they try to pull some bullshit, and it's Wizards, so it wouldn't surprise me. But if they decide to pull the old version of the OGL, that's going to screw a lot of companies that have literally built their entire model and product on that, such
Yeah.
as Paizo, which makes Pathfinder, Green Ronin. There's a number of companies
Even
that,
War Chief Gaming and Oroboros
yeah,
would be
yeah.
affected.
Whatever company made the Dark Souls tabletop recently. Like, there's a
Yep.
lot of them out there. I know that, like, there was a number of games back in third, or like books in third that I picked up that were made as third party licensing. So like the Sword and Sorcery Company, which they're the ones who made third edition Ravenloft. They did a lot of the supplemental books.
Yeah.
Yeah, like yeah. I don't think that that would be a good thing by any means. And honestly, I really, really doubt that WotC could win a lawsuit against that because of one. Ryan Dancy he's on record as saying it can't be changed. It's in the OGL that it can't be revoked. Like those are legal precedents. That's legal terms. I'm no lawyer. I don't know a lot about law, but
So
seems pretty solid.
another similar thing that happened is with what happened recently with Blizzard. So Warcraft 3 came out. Oh shit! What was it, like 1990 or something like that?
Oh yeah.
And it had an in-game engine that you could build your own kind of games with, and you got a free license to basically develop any kind of map or game mode you wanted, and build from that platform, build whatever you wanted. Okay. From that, the map making community that followed Warcraft 3 exploded. And they started making these cool RPG map missions, and they started making like 2 tower defense games. There was a lot of creativity that was poured into the Warcraft 3 engine and developing cool custom maps. So much so that they created, I think it was the first Dota. Okay. And that is the
Defense of the Ancients.
Yeah, Defense of the Ancients game. And that's what spawned League of Legends. And it's all built off of that Warcraft 3 engine.
And Heroes of the Storm.
So they created a whole genre of gaming from being able to use that license. So when Blizzard created Warcraft 3 Reforged, okay, and then re-released the new updated engine builder for Warcraft 3 Reforged, okay, which in and of itself is a very powerful tool because this is how you could make, that kind of style games from then on out. They stated in their license that if you make any game, that they have full ownership of the game.
Yeah.
And people basically gave them a big middle finger, and no one's developed any kind of content for Warcraft 3 Reforged. And the game died, dead on arrival, for a number of other reasons as well, too. And I think that's a lesson that WotC needs to take from this. If they're going to change the OGL to basically say that they own any spin-offs that use their gaming license from here on out, and they make all the changes that people are already stating they don't like, and already kind of coming back and saying, hey, you're kind of working with us, but you're changing a system that really doesn't need to be changed that much, they could collapse with the 6th edition.
Oh, yeah. I think because 6th edition is going to have a rough go of it, I think, already.
It's not treading water well right now, and I don't think it's a game. The game design issues, you can go back and forth all day. Okay, you're always going to get, well, 4th edition sucks kind of bullshit, remarks.
Everybody has their favorite version.
Yeah, but I think the designers are making a good attempt to build something new off the back of 5.
Yeah,
I think that's foolish. I think they should just come out with 5e Advanced. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I am actually in agreement with you on that opinion.
But they also don't need to change the OGL. They need to update it to reflect, the growing kind of content that exists out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they need to protect themselves with D&D Beyond and their rumored plans of turning it into a repository of self-made campaigns? Yeah. Do they get if I were to write something and publish it in this newfangled D&D Beyond library, they want to maintain ownership of it? Okay. That's my choice I get to make. But if I choose not to, but I just use license to develop the game, then they don't get ownership of it. That's my choice.
Yeah.
I already do that with DM's Guild. When I published Dread of the Ice Devil, when I published Everyone's Been Naughty, when I published the Tomb of Refurbishment, every single one of those works is now technically WotC property. Saladrin is now technically WotC property because I put him in one of the modules. And that wasn't my choice. Now, it does state that if they like that character so much that they would work out other agreements and arrangements to buy you out from that character better. And I'm fine with that. The only character that even comes to mind that it exists for is Mingskin Boo. They didn't create Mingskin Boo. It was created by the guy who did the Baldur's Gate games.
Right.
He
Yeah.
created Mingskin Boo and then signed it over to WotC.
Yeah, but
So,
it at the same time, Baldur's Gate, the video games that like that's very much part of what, or I guess it wasn't WotC at the time. I
it
think it might.
wasn't.
I mean, yeah, I think it's still TSR, but I understand though. Like
Yeah.
there was a lot of there's a large creation process behind making a video game, especially
Yeah.
for Dungeons and Dragons. This was pretty early
Yeah.
in the D&D games.
But Mingskin Boo is a now widely known character.
Yeah.
And
And
has merchandise.
one last thing, those actually came out before the OGL.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, it's fine that WotC owns the products. If you want to publish under their platform, and that's the key thing, under their platform, they can have ownership. But if they just say, hey, you use our OGL, we now own Oroboros because you use the OGL, then no, that's bullshit.
Yeah, good luck getting sued, because that's what's going to happen. Yeah, that would almost certainly happen. Apparently, we're being joined by Bruce, the beer bandit. What's up, buddy?
Hello.
Just hopping in on our podcast now anytime you want.
I am a grumpy dungeon master.
That is true. We were talking about the OGL, the official gaming license shenanigans that are going on that everyone is talking about.
I know. I think I sent you guys, or one of you guys, a link about it.
Was it a TikTok? Because if it was, I
Yeah.
probably didn't see it.
It was a TikTok.
Because I don't watch. I watch like 1 out of 10 TikToks that people send me.
Speaking of TikTok, I actually started posting stuff to the Grumpy Dungeon Master TikTok.
I've noticed. I have been watching those as you open up Spelljammer miniatures.
Yeah. No one's commenting down below though what mini you like the best. So it makes me sad. Start doing that.
Sure, I'll get right on that. Because all the minis that I buy and use and care about.
You gotta say which one you like. Do you like the Beholder? Do you like the Hadozi?
I don't like any of them.
Yeah. That's on you.
Yep. I'm old, man. I like Ral Partha miniatures.
Yeah.
If my shit's not made of metal, I don't like it.
If I'm not getting poisoned slowly by lead, I don't like it.
That's right. Need that lead poisoning. Yeah, I don't really know what more to say about it.
I don't want to say much more about it because the OGL is until they come out with something that's official. You can't really make a comment. And if they come out with something that's official and bad, then everyone goes away from WotC and 6E dies. Doesn't matter if 6E is the best gaming system on the face of the planet. If the OGL is restrictive and mean, no one is going to use it. People are just going to go away. You're going to fight your legal battles. You're going to lose all your money, and D&D is going to die.
They're going to have a hard time with it right now, no matter what. Even it does not matter what they release on the OGL. They have already gotten so much massive bad press because of this.
And that's kind of unfair because everything has been leaked. Hey, we kind of want to do this. If they leaked it themselves to kind of test the waters, well, they got their answer. Yep. Nobody likes you touching this. So don't touch it.
I was concerned for you guys' streams because that was some of the rumors that the OGL wasn't going to let you stream your stuff anymore.
Yeah.
It all depends with the VTTs that are hosting the content, and I think it's more referring to like Roll20, which you can buy the materials, and the materials are then like built into the VTT. Whereas, like what I use with Foundry, there's nothing that's built into it other than the OGL SRD, which is already built into Foundry. But they can rip that out, and they'll be good to go. The VTT will just host whatever maps you want to put up there. It's system agnostic.
Yeah.
Roll20, on the other hand, again, it has content already built in. So there's a question. What's the other one? Fantasy Grounds. Fantasy Grounds has official D&D content in there. So, but they also probably have individual licensing agreements all set up for that.
Yeah, those probably do, since they kind of like the whole virtual tabletop thing was never addressed in the original OGL.
But it does need to be added to. Like, you can add to the OGL and say, hey, if you're building a VTT, this is where the limit is. Don't go past that, with your product release. Because when I pay for Foundry, I'm paying for that SRD already built into it. Technically, did I use it? Technically, I've used one thing. That's the mule we have in our current game that we stream. We pulled him, like, dragged and dropped him out of the SRD, so his stat block is there and all his stats, and it's just a mule icon, and it's weird. Yeah. But I mean, like, it does need to be expanded upon, but they got to be very careful to be as restrictive. If they want to start making money off of people who are making money with their product, like Oroboros, like the Dragonlance guys, like Paizo and all them, then you got to come up to with either special agreements with all of them, which is what probably already happens. I mean, you need to have a very generous system that doesn't really infringe, because if someone makes $1 million and you say, I'm going to take 1%, that's okay.
Yep. Most people aren't going to complain about that. If that's right. If you make $1 million, we get 1%. I don't think many of the companies would complain too much about that. Now, that being stated, I still think they would have to fight it in court. Yeah, because you do not want to set a precedent. You do not want to let it go without fighting it.
Well, I mean, it's already set that way in every other field.
Yeah, I know, but it's written down, and it is the way it is. If they let it go without fighting it, then it's not going to stop at 1%. And that is a fact. That is how companies will do things. If WotC says, "Oh, we're just going to update the OGL for 1%," and all those companies are like, "Okay, we're cool with that," it will not stop there.
Well, it's already not stopping there. I mean, but
yeah. But anyway,
there's a link on our Discord to the Reddit mega thread that has all the links, all the info. You can dive deep into this for hours and see a lot of different points, but I've said my piece. I don't want to go too much more into it because
it's not out yet.
It's kind of all hearsay until something actually changes.
The one last thing I do want to say, and it's not even specific about the OGL, but because of all the bad press and the fear and concern that's running through the community, I've seen a lot of different people who are creators who are already planning on just changing what they're doing. I was watching this one YouTuber. I don't remember who it was specifically, but they had created, a world and a setting and stuff with 5e as the system, and they're already planning to just make their own system to get out from under that, so it won't be an issue.
Then you kind of fall into like GURPS territory, which is fine. Like, you can make your own system if you really want, but then you gotta have someone else to learn it. Like, I know nothing about GURPS other than it's a very generic role-playing system anyone can use and publish content with.
I love GURPS. It's a very simple system to learn. It's all D6s.
Yeah. That's kind of the warning is to WotC. You can go the Warcraft 3 route and everyone will hate you and it will fail. Or you can go the Epic route and update with the times. Or you can basically just, hate your customers more and we will easily go elsewhere.
Yep. Some of us already are because your content has been shit.
Yeah, that's a different issue.
Yeah, that's a whole different issue, but it is still a major issue.
And the content's not shit. the updates to the lore are shit.
Well, Spelljammer was shit.
Updates to the lore.
Dragonlance was shit.
Updates to the lore.
Yeah. I don't care. You can call it content. You can call it issues with the lore. You call it whatever you want, but it's still a problem.
Content to me is the adventures.
Content. The adventures are zero content to me because I don't use them. They are not books. They have no purpose for somebody like myself.
There's the rules, there's the lore, and then there's the content. The rules haven't been updated or changed or improved at all. The lore hasn't gone anywhere. But the content, what the writers are writing, is still very good. It's being edited to shit.
I'm sure
the content is good.
I'm sure the modules that they're releasing are fine, but I just don't care about them. Like, yeah, I know Bruce doesn't either. Even with Pathfinder, we run our own shit.
I bet you if I got my job with Wizards, my dream job with Wizards, and I actually got to write in an official thing, you guys wouldn't run my shit, would you?
No,
you bastards.
I would run it. And Jay, I do run a lot of homebrew, but I do take stuff from the adventure modules they put out. They, if there's something really good, I'll steal it and change it.
Yeah, yeah, but you're not running it. You're taking parts of it and utilizing it for yourself. I mean, I do the same thing. I own a million old, like first and second edition modules, and I pull pieces from it. But I don't care about most of the 5e ones. Yeah, yeah, it's a.
But you're also saying that when you told me that you read Van Richten's Guide to Shadow Dread or whatever it's called.
The Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, which I am going to talk about here shortly.
Right now, go.
Oh, we're already pulling this? Okay. Well, like I've been playing in a Ravenloft campaign. I ran Icewind Dale, which is the only module I've ever run. And I'm playing in Ravenloft, which is the first campaign, like module I've actually played in. And I had managed to pick up third edition Ravenloft book just a couple of weeks ago, and I'd been kind of flipping through it and seeing, what are all these domains about, because I never really got to play Ravenloft before, so it's all kind of new to me. And I wanted to do a comparison to how is the 5e book? Was it any good? Is there any good stuff in there? And oddly enough, I was impressed. Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is actually a really good book with a lot of content.
Yeah, the method that they changed everything to basically having domains be kind of like pocket realities full of things.
Well, that's how they are. That's how they were in third edition. That's probably how they were in second.
Maybe, but they took that same methodology and they applied it now to like the Feywild and stuff.
Yeah, like that I was not a fan of them doing that, because I'm almost positive that was not the case.
It wasn't until Van Richten's came out, and they're like, yeah, let's just have domains for everybody.
Yeah, because
I really kind of think that the Feywild lore book that talks about the Feywild domains, that was the extra DLC you had to buy off of DM's Guild, and it wasn't in the Feywild book, was because of the Van Richten success.
It sounds likely, but the thing is, Ravenloft, at least what I know about it from the third edition book, it was designed to be that way, because the whole setting is you can everybody, all these little horrible they're called dark powers, I think it is, and they're sort of godlike beings, and they have a fucked up little world with dark lords in control of all these domains. And the domains can range in size from a country to literally just the size of a closet, just depending on how powerful the lord is. And the Dark Lord has complete control over their domain. So if you go into Barovia, which is where Strahd and all of them are at, like, he can just shut down his borders at any point, so nobody can leave. And when they do that, there is no way to leave. It is impossible until he opens it back up.
Yeah, the fog. He used to have the fog, and you could get lost in it, and you never make it out of Barovia once you got in.
Yeah, and the thing is, the fog, you can step into it, be heading west, and then just, travel through it for 2 or 3 days, and you end up 1,000 miles away across the continent, somewhere to the east. Like it just takes you to wherever it wants to go. And honestly, as a mechanic for somebody who's running a campaign like that, that's pretty awesome. Because if I'm tired of running Barovia and I want to take you to some other horrible domain, that's an easy way to do it.
So I have a funny little quick story about that. I was playing Death House, the the kind of like the intro to Ravenloft, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
We were kind of playing. We were playing a version of it that was a one shot. So like your character just traveling down a road, and the fog kind of like pulls you in and pushes you towards the Death House. And I was playing Thaladred, my character at that time, and I I tried to intimidate the fog as it was trying to creep in at us,
Huh.
and I always take intimidate on Thaladred because giant guy always tries to intimidate people,
Enter a
and I
fighter.
always yeah, and but because it's shitty that intimidate's always charisma, I always give myself a couple more charisma points just for being able to have a better intimidate.
Mhm.
So I went to intimidate the fog, and it worked, mind you. Scared the shit out of the fog. I rolled something like I think I rolled like a 20 or a 19 or something like that, and my modifier at that time was like +8.
Yeah,
So getting in the mid 20s, I guess scares the fog just a little bit.
just a little. It's afraid of you. Got a little nervous.
I
Oh,
can just picture just Straw going, "Did he just growl at my fog? Fuck!
what the fuck?
I hope he dies."
So just I'm going to sort of go through the contents of the book here, not too heavily, but like it actually starts off with a whole bunch of different character creation options, which personally that's something I love. That's why I like Tasha's and Xanathar so much.
Mhm.
It's got 3 different new races. It's got a section titled Dark Gifts, which I have not read, but I'm assuming it's a little powers and stuff that you can get. There are actually 2 subclasses and a handful of backgrounds to pick from. Then
Yep.
it actually goes into details of how to create your own domain of dread, which is a useful thing because that's explaining how the domains actually work. Uh, then it breaks it down by types of horror, which is kind of neat. They have,
Mhm.
let's see, there's body horror, cosmic horror, dark fantasy, folk horror, ghost story, gothic horror. There was a handful of others that are very briefly described. Disaster, occult detective stories, psychological, and slasher. So you can create your own domain based upon any one of these types of horror. So if you wanted to run something akin to Freddy and Jason, you do slasher horror, occult
Mhm.
detective stories, or even cosmic horror. That's your Call of Cthulhu styles. And they then list. I don't know if I doubt it's every domain, but there's probably 20 domains that they break down. They tell you who the NPCs are that matter. They tell you the type of horror that you're dealing with. They actually have maps of all of these domains in there. And
Yeah.
then there's an entire section near the end that's got monsters of Ravenloft, and there's a handful of little adventures you could run. And this right here, this is what they need to be releasing when they release books. This is the content that I personally am looking for, and I think most of the other people who are bitching about not having content are looking for.
Yeah. Like I said, this book was very well received. Um,
It's the first time I'd gotten to look at it, so very impressed with it.
I think they even hinted at the Feywild domains in here someplace.
They might have
Uh,
it.
I can't remember which one. I think it was.
Guys, I gotta go.
All right, buddy. Thanks for stopping in. We'll chat with you soon, man. All right. Well, Beer Bandit's out of here, so back to just me and Chris. We'll have to get him actually on the podcast or something when planned. But yeah, Van Richten's, it's a good book. If you're gonna do any Ravenloft stuff, grab it. I mean, honestly, I just from reading it, I'm actually interested to run a like Ravenloft campaign.
Well, I mean, running Ravenloft is running Ravenloft. Well,
Well, I say
it's
Ravenloft. There's all the domains though. Like I could set it in any of them.
yeah, but I mean, so you're running in just any other kind of domain. I mean,
Yep.
they're all different. I think there's a couple really good, interesting ones. The Barovia one is the domain for Strahd. The
Yeah,
Carnival, that's the one.
yeah.
The
Oh yeah,
Carnival
yeah,
is the one that hinted towards the 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 Witchlight book that
yeah.
was coming out in the future. So that's a really cool one, and they also expanded upon that a little bit.
There was another domain it's basically set in a desert with mummies. I like that idea. Never
Yeah,
run anything like that. That's kind of a cool, cool location.
I like mummies. Mummies are good.
Yeah, but there's a lot of different potential, really cool settings. There's jungle. There's jungle setting. There's actually one for Chinese ghosts. Yeah, like
Yep.
like you have the I think it's Ekoth or Ikoth. I'm not sure exactly how to say it, but the old they used to do like ghost movies in like Chinese ghost movies back in the 80s and 90s.
Yep. So, did you look at the lineages that they added? The Damphir, the Hexblood, or the Reborn?
I had actually seen them before. I had looked over
Okay.
them when we were starting up the Ravenloft game. But yeah, they're pretty. I kind of like them, and they make sense for the setting. You got the Damphir, the Hex Bloods, the Reborn, which I think that's what Jacob is actually playing in our game currently as a Reborn.
I think the Reborn is
Is it the
the
Reborn or
one
yeah?
that lets you.
It's either the Reborn or Hexblood. I don't. He's one or the other.
Yeah, so the Reborn is the really broken race because you get ancestral legacy with it. So when you pick this, you basically replace another race, but you get to keep any skill proficiencies and any abilities they may have had when you did it. So you play a Reborn uh, Alwyn or Reborn Aarakocra, and you can basically fly
Oh
and
yeah.
also be
Okay. Yeah.
undead.
Yeah. It says you keep any skill proficiencies you gained from it, and any climbing, flying, or swimming speed you gained from it. That's kind of dumb. Uh,
It really is, yeah. It's kind of
yeah.
broke.
If that's the one that Jacob had picked, he's not. He doesn't have flying or anything like that. So, well, he might have a climb.
Well, if
No,
you're
and maybe
if
he has a. I
you're
think he might have had a climbing one. We
if
were
you're a
talking
Reborn
kind of about it.
Tabaxi, you get all that cool stuff.
Yeah, that might have been what he was. But
Damn Reborn Tabaxis.
but yeah, I'm actually a fan of that book. I really hope that I know they're not doing anything like that this current year because they've already sort
Well,
of.
the Big B book is another edition of stuff.
That's true. Yeah, maybe that one.
It's too late in the time frame, but I'll,
Well, yeah, if sixth edition is quote unquote backwards compatible, then it might not be, but we'll
you
see.
know, it's backwards compatible.
What's that?
Tires for a car.
They are.
But you
Wait,
never want to do that.
wait. Is this the start of a commercial?
No.
Oh, okay. You said it, and it sounded like we had an
Grumpy
advertising.
Dungeon Masters brought to you by Michelin Tires. Michelin, somehow they rate food and make tires.
Yeah, weird. Anyway, so that's all I had on Van Richtens. I know you wanted to talk some about Oroboros.
Uh, I've been reading through it, and I've always been very interested with the setting.
Yeah,
Um,
I like the
it
setting. What we talked about it.
it's definitely post-apocalyptic. I still am kind of weirded out by like how like you're supposed to run it. Like magic in that setting is supposed to be so rare, a commoner would rarely see a spell ever cast in their entire life. Okay.
Okay.
But yet, you're supposed to have all these adventurers that come around and do special things to help people out because the local governments and authorities are too thin, overtaxed, and unwilling to. So it's like the adventurers come in, it's just this whirlwind of magnificence because, hey, I'm casting spells. Hey, I'm healing people. Hey, look what I can do. And it's just blowing people's minds, essentially.
Right.
And then, like, it's very tonally different than Faerun for sure. There's a chapter in the book that's just about how rock and roll music is like the key for these couple cities. And if you want to do anything, you got to have a rock band. And then it has like what different musical uh, styles exist for different areas.
Okay.
So it's very interesting in that regard, but it's kind of hard to like wrap around like what exactly you're supposed to do in this setting.
Yeah.
Without having that first adventure to kind of like set the groundwork, it's really hard to kind of just jump right into this new world and know exactly how to run it for somebody, if that makes sense.
No, I follow you. It sounds like it's a very sort of different setting than anything that's out there, and it might not even be a cohesive setting, just from that description you've given. Uh, doesn't mean
Well,
you can't run it, but
it's supposed to be very out there. It's post apocalyptic kind of we've already rebuilt civilization kind of thing.
so is it a it is a fantasy setting. It's
Yeah,
not sci-fi. So it's if a fantasy world had a massive, you know, civilization collapse and then it regrows. That's
yeah,
what you're dealing with, which
yeah,
is that's been done a lot of times before.
right.
But
So the thing that kind of runs everything. So like the Faerun has the weave that kind of that's where all magic is kind of comes from.
right,
In this world, it's the Oroboros that runs all the magical energies throughout all of existence.
okay,
Okay,
yep,
and
the serpent eating the serpent.
right, but it's an actual entity like within the planet. It's like the planet itself
Yeah,
is this world serpent, and the previous elven civilizations learned to harness its energies until they harnessed too much, and they kind of got corrupted by it, and everything went bad. Huge explosion, and then the serpent kind of went, you know what? I'm waking up right now. Fuck you guys. You're all dead. Okay. It came in, pulled terraced, and went home.
all right,
So that's cool. It's very interesting.
yeah,
Uh, however, you as the player, like the whole idea of this game is you're supposed to give the players the mark of the serpent. Okay. Actually give them the mark and let them draw power directly from the serpent and
okay,
do miraculous things. Whether it's one player or all the players, it's an element that the GM is advised to do, but understand that it could be very dangerous. So there's this whole system in the book where as you progress down using the coils of the serpent, as they call it, you get more power to do more grandiose things. All right. So
yep,
like if you're tier 5, you're in the dread coil, uh, and you can do things like alter time,
okay,
create pocket dimensions. Okay. So your player could get to the point where you could TPK, and he goes, "No, that's not happening," and activates his coil,
mhm,
undoes the entire time that entire fight, and then you do the encounter again. This is an example.
yeah, yeah.
There's no limit to what the player can do other than their imagination, and it says so directly that way in the book. They
That's a
can do
it.
whatever they want.
It's almost like he's pulling from Mage: The Awakening, which is a White Wolf game.
Okay.
Yeah, like Mage, there once you reach the higher tiers of that one, there was almost no limits as to what you were capable of doing, or even the Fate system with the Dresden files. There was some
Yeah.
crazy shit you could pull off in that sitting.
I mean, there are detriments that happen that you have to roll for. It is charted out very nicely. It's fairly complicated. It's kind of, kind of vague,
Yeah,
but overall, the when you reach the end and you're finally used too much of it and you become consumed, you become the next apocalypse, essentially.
Okay.
So you could unmake reality at that point in time.
I
You could
like
wake
it.
slurp it up. I don't know how you maintain control of that as the GM. Give the player, you're basically giving the players the wish ability and allowing them to kind of like use wish whenever they want.
You
Okay.
have to go outside the bounds of the rules. This is something that I've found myself doing more lately because I'm thinking in second edition terms, because that's what I'm getting ready to run. So my brain is kind of making that transition where I am thinking more in terms of rule of cool as opposed to the rule of the law. Whereas with 5e, it's all here's your rules. This is very structured. This is what you can do. This is how it all works. But you go to earlier editions of D&D or other settings and systems, and it doesn't have that. And that's what
Right.
this sounds like. You need to, if you're going to run this at some point and you're going to go big or go home, you need to let your players kind of go outside the rules on occasions. And especially with what you're talking about, with them having that ability.
Yeah. So I mean, it's cool that exists, and I'm fine with it. I feel that it would get out of control super quickly.
Only if you, as the DM, allow it to.
And it does say that, they could fail to summon the energies and stuff like that.
Mhm.
There is a check in place kind of for that.
Okay.
But overall, I still kind of just seeing it be just going crazy after a while. And like, especially if like younger kids who already kind of go crazy. I
Yeah.
don't know how many times I see, I gave my players 700 magic items and now I don't know what to do because there's no encounter that they can't beat. Well, sorry.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
put yourself in that hole. Get a rust sponge that can eat magic items, I guess.
yeah, early Dungeons and Dragons, there was these things called Monty Hall campaigns, where all the players ended up with ridiculous magic items, usually at pretty low level, and would try to steamroll through everything. At the same time, once you start giving them broke ass items, you then get to throw broke ass creatures at them. So, it can balance out. You are the game master. You have complete control of how this thing rolls.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting that the mechanic is there, that their magic system's kind of tied to it in a lot of ways. And the more you kind of like you try to understand it, the more of reality kind of slips away. Um, so I like that old god kind of cosmic
Yeah,
horror
yeah, very,
aspect of
very,
it.
very Cthulhu-esque. The more you learn about them, the more insane you go.
Yeah. So I'm very interested in trying that out. But I'm unsure of like how to keep it flowing and interesting without giving players essentially an undo button so that they can just undo everything they wanted to in the blink of an eye.
Well, they shouldn't have that ability at all ever
No,
until they're like 18th level, 20th level.
I mean technically by the way the coils are situated, by the time you kind of get to that level, you are over 18. I think tier 5, which is the dread tier, which gives
Yeah.
you like the alter reality powers, is
Yep.
over 18th level. So like I said, it is balanced pretty well. Then again, I've never run a campaign over past 15, so
Yeah. Yeah. It takes a long time. Even in 5e, it takes a long time to get characters up to 20th level. Like, it's still not a super quick process. Like, I playing through the Ravenloft game, we've played 3 game sessions and we're already 5th level. And to me, that's just blazingly fast leveling.
yeah, I don't know
But
how you're 5th level. What level did you start at?
we started at first, but it's just when you complete milestones, you hit certain points. We were 4th level, and we managed to kill the Hag Coven with the help of an NPC that was tagging along with us. And because that was like a level boss, as it were, so that gained us another level. And that was a rough goddamn fight. But you're trying to kill hags, 3 hags, a hag coven without a magic weapon. That ain't easy.
Just dunk them in the pot until they drown.
Yeah. But yeah, because of that's sort of the design of. I mean, Icewind Dale is the same way. When you complete certain tasks, you gain a level. It was definitely slower in Icewind Dale because you had to do all these little side missions in the beginning to level up.
Yeah. I am running with experience for these guys, and they
Mhm.
are they're third level, they're halfway through third level. They're ahead of where they should be if I was playing Waterdeep normally,
Yeah.
but they are they're going to be fine, I think. I was giving them experience points quite a lot.
Mhm.
So I think we're going on the appropriate pace essentially.
Okay. Yeah, second ed's going to be interesting when I start running it because I too am doing experience points, and it second ed and first ed it takes a while to level. Like I've already told my players, it might take 2 or 3 game sessions before they hit second level, and that's just the design of it.
Yeah, 2 or 3 game sessions.
Hmm.
I'm on 5, I think. So
Yeah, it's you are not supposed to be superheroes in the early editions. You are just dudes.
you're just gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just dudes and you're trying to survive. You are not superheroes unless it's a Monty Hall campaign, and then you are superheroes. But I'm trying not to run that.
Yeah.
But I should be starting that here in 2 weeks, probably. I think, hopefully 2 or 3 at the most. Then I'll have more to talk about it.
That's good.
Yep.
Um, my campaign went really well this weekend. I got so I started the campaign. In case the listener is not aware, is called Waterdeep Fiendish Summer. It's based loosely on Waterdeep Dragon Heist, where I kind of use the same major plot points to a certain extent to have my characters kind of run through and um, survive Waterdeep. And that's kind of how I ran the Waterdeep Dragon Heist. It was less about finding the treasure and was more about surviving Waterdeep. So I focused a lot on the holidays that happened, what the time frame they were in was. I think I ran a spring campaign, and so this is now the summer campaign, and it's post the previous group finding the dragons, the 50,000 gold, and becoming successful. And this is kind of like the aftermath of what happened to that campaign. So everything has been going quite well, and they actually rolled into the first day of summer, starting at the last 2 weeks of spring, and now they're officially in summer. So now they're officially in the fiendish summer, as
Yeah.
it were. And I couldn't have wanted a better start. I used I had shown one of the main villains, which was a Cambion demon,
Hmm.
near in the first dungeon. It gave a glimpse of him. They were fighting cultists, Asmodeus cultists and Baal cultists up to that point, and so they'd shown the Cambion demon. But this time, what it was is there's a holiday called Dragon's Down Day. All right, and on Dragon's Down Day, you're supposed to the people in town build a float for every different kind of color dragon that there is. So one for each of the chromatic colors, and then one for each of the metallic colors.
Okay, so 10 floats.
Yeah. So what it culminates towards is the red dragon being burned, okay, and then its corpse going up to the top of Mount Waterdeep where it's destroyed. So you burn the red dragon, revealing a skeleton, and it becomes a Dracolich. And then they walk the Dracolich up to the top of Mount Waterdeep and they kill it and burn it again to symbolize basically this one hero of Waterdeep who was a paladin who defeated the original dragon. And I think it was his son that defeated the Dracolich that came from that red dragon.
Okay.
And that's the whole celebration that happens. So during this celebration, uh, the cultists attacked everyone that was pulling the parade floats, and killed everyone but my group who was pulling the red one, and it was our guy that made the red float, and he had basically gotten this really cool specialized glyph of fire breathing made and put in the dragon's mouth so it would breathe fire, like tons of fire,
Right.
and then burn itself down and cost a lot of money, spared no expense kind of thing. And didn't really register it with the guild order of magisters and protectors. So he needed the players to go out and take care of the glyph. He gave them the code word to destroy it. And it's finally the first time I actually got to make a play with the Cambion demon and revealing the kind of like the grand story plan that I have planned for them all.
Right.
And the idea was they're supposed to go to where all the dragon floats were impounded and disable the fire glyph in the dragon.
Okay.
The Cambion demon was going to be casting a demonic ritual to corrupt the glyph so that it would kind of the whole dragon would come to life and breathe fire everywhere.
Okay.
And they had to stop them. They didn't know that. They were just going there to basically disable the glyph because the store owner that had made the dragon and bought the glyph was like, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to be held liable.
Yeah, go turn off the sprinklers. That's what I'm paying you to do.
It's actually one of the players' dad, whose player is a gold dragon. His adopted dad's a red dragonborn, so that's why he got to be the red dragon float. So my idea is that they were going to sneak into the docks, sneak past the very few guards that were there, and they were going to go fight. And I had this encounter scheduled out that they just have to interrupt. They have to hit the Cambion demon, and he's got to fail his con save to have the ritual fail, and he would fly away, and they'd have to deal with a bearded devil and 2 dretches.
Yeah.
And that was the encounter that I planned out.
And how did it actually go?
They sent in one person. They distracted the guard. It was my wife, who was trying to play her drow and distract her. And the group was not rolling well at all that night. I don't think anyone rolled better than a 10.
Oh,
the entire night.
Yeah.
I was rolling hot all night, like a couple crits and everything. I almost killed one person straight up. And it was an off night for them, and I felt for them. I should probably hold back. I don't know. But they were pulling through fine. It wasn't like end of the world kind of stuff. So my wife goes to distract the guard. She fails to distract the guard. So the other guy tries to sneak by the guard. He fails his stealth check to sneak by the guard.
Of course.
And then he casts sleep, and I had already at this point said that it was an elven
guard,
female guard, and he panicked. He's like, sleep, and he rolled like this level 2 sleep, and was like, oh, that's cool. That's a lot. The sleep wouldn't even work. It would have been enough to put the guard to sleep, but I would have done it anyways. Just FYI for players out there.
If it was not an elf.
If it was not an elf, I rolled to see if it was an elf. So, I had rolled a d4. It was elf, human, dwarf, halfling, and it came up to be an elf, and it was randomly an elf. So the guards started chasing him. That's when they sent in the Dragonborn, the gold Dragonborn, to go deactivate the glyph. He sees the demons. He's trying to sneak and hide into the float. His stealth checks fails. He gets like a 7. Like with advantage, he gets a 7.
Yes.
And then he's trying to climb up into the float. It was like a brass dragon float he was trying to climb up into, and rolls like a 3 or something on his athletics. And just utterly tanks that. And so he falls, he lands prone. They're coming and trying to get him, the Dretch and the bearded devils, and he runs away. And they're like, shit, we got to regroup. We got to go someplace else. We don't know what's going on. Shit's about to go sideways with the Cambion demons there. He's probably up to no good. He wasn't. And they kind of left them there, and there was enough time for the Cambion demon to finish casting the spell.
So whatever you had planned, you now have to adjust.
I had not intended for them not to succeed.
Yep.
Stopping the ritual was just as simple as anyone hits the Cambion demon, he's gonna fail and run away. Aha! I'll get you next time, Gadget. Fly away.
Curse you, He-Man!
And the ritual gets off, so the red dragon paper mache thing comes to life, and I'm explaining how this thing is now just going around, smashing buildings, breathing fire. He set all the other paper mache dragon floats on fire. The entire area that they're in is now ablaze. And then I'm like, I didn't plan for all this, but this is what it is. And they're like going back, like, I'm going to go back and try to beat the dragon. I'm like, I don't have the stats for a paper mache dragon. And then I'm like, oh, what's
Make them up.
I'm like, it's incinerating the guards with its fire breath, so I don't care. I'm gonna fight them. Okay, that didn't scare the players away. So I had to think of something to kind of like end the situation real quick. And I was like, oh shit, the walking statues of Waterdeep. Are you familiar with what they are?
I'm imagining they're golems that protect the city in case of invasion.
So throughout all this entire city of Waterdeep, there are these massive 50-foot statues that come to life during great moments of need and crisis within Waterdeep. And I was like, what's better than the city burning than a giant great crisis that needs to be dealt with? So I had the Griffin, which is at the top of Mount Waterdeep, come to life. And it basically flew down and smashed the dragon, destroying it instantly.
Yeah.
And then with its massive wings, like this is a 50-foot tall griffin statue.
Right. It's a massive statue, and the dragon is paper mache.
Yeah, but it's also just like beating its wings, causing mini hurricanes, and just putting out the fire. And that's how I got to end the session.
Okay. So the one thing that occurred to me is that the Dragonborn who didn't want to get in trouble for the whole, it's breathing fire thing, he doesn't have to worry about it now. They can pin the whole thing on the Cambion.
No one else saw the Cambion but that one player.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if they decided to, that one player could, because the people are going to be asking questions. What happened? Well, there was this guy that was there. He was doing this ritual.
Yeah, I mean that's true. There already are detectives, the Waterdeep detectives that are in Dragon Heist, using them again. And they already questioned the players about
one of them named Benoit Blanc.
Barnabas. One of them's named Barnabas and Sergeant Cromley.
Okay, that's a good name.
Yeah. So they're going to come around again and be like, okay, you were seen at this scene. You were. What's going on? You're the only group to survive the paper mache attack, the parade attack, and now you're seen here. What's going on? So,
oh man, I hope they don't become known as the paper mache bandits.
I don't think that's going to happen. But we are progressing through the story quite well. It is summertime.
Yep. No, I love it. That's awesome. That would have been fun to play through that.
Yeah, I know I do good with my wife, like, does the whole shocked face, and she did.
All right, everybody can go watch it on stream.
Yeah, I should put them all up on YouTube too. It should be fun.
Yeah. So the last thing we wanted to talk just briefly about before we wrap this thing up is the Dungeon 23 thing that we talked about last week. So for those who haven't listened, Dungeon 23, it's the idea of every day you write up a new dungeon room, and by the end of the year, you have an entire gigantic dungeon created. So I know how my side's going. How is your side going? We're 8 days into this thing.
I have gone through and plotted out the major rooms so far.
Mhm.
I'll probably do a couple more, probably get to around maybe 20, and then sit down on paper and write them all out, which I know is not the intended way for it to technically
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, it's when you told me how you were doing it, it occurred to me that everybody has their own method for creation.
Yes.
For me, when it comes to building a dungeon, I don't map it out first. I actually tend to. Well, there's two ways I can do it. If I'm just looking for something quick to run, say that night, I'll do it the way you're talking about. I'll map it out first, and then I'll write out what the rooms are. If I'm doing it the way this is intended, I'm writing out everything. I'm not even mapping them out. Like these can fit in pretty much anywhere in the dungeon. So I can just,
Yeah.
yeah, my players are running through this dungeon. I'm just going to grab my notebook, flip to whatever page. All right, number 7, and then I'll read the description for number 7.
I wanted a little more structure to the dungeon itself.
Mhm.
Like, I need to know what CR I'm kind of running in, and as well as like what the end goal of the dungeon would be, kind of first.
Yeah,
And my intent is to have this massive sprawling dungeon that you could print out in black and white and just lay down at the table and just go through it in each section
yeah,
and be 1,000 rooms big, kind of like the first level of the Undermountain,
right,
the
right.
1,000 room dungeon that it is. So that's kind of where I'm going with it. Um, and I'm kind of creating the rules and what everything is along the way.
Yeah.
Um,
Like mine will be sort of separated by quote unquote challenge rating. Like, initially, when at least for a while, everything that I'm writing out is just going to be, very low level, and that's what it should be. If that, a lot of things don't even have encounters per se; they're just rooms with treasures or interesting things in them, and anything that is an encounter initially will be for first level characters, basically, because I am writing this with a second edition intention in mind.
yeah, I still haven't decided what CR I'm running for yet. Um, I have a couple ideas. One would be to uh, create a kind of a Tomb of Annihilation style tomb. Like you come in at level 12 and everything is that level of difficulty.
Yeah.
But what I thought about yesterday is because I'm kind of writing these in kind of like sections, like in giant 24 by 36
Hmm.
sections,
Yep.
to basically say like this section here is going to be level 1. And then when you complete all these rooms and you move on to one of these other 2 maps, it's now level 2. And then when you complete either one of these level 2 areas, you're now level 3, and here's the level 3 areas. Here's a level 4 areas. Here's a level 5 areas. I think that would be interesting as well too.
It's clean and structured. It doesn't
Yeah.
require much much thought.
I'm just not 100% sure yet as to what my ultimate goal for it would be. Whether I just want to have this one big massive challenge or let players get through it
Yeah.
as quickly as they can or something like that. I think what I kind of want to do is I kind of want to have it be kind of like a challenge, and every room you go into is like you get a point essentially,
Hmm.
and if you get far enough, you get enough points, and you can leave at any time. And this is the progression that you take through it. So kind
Yeah.
of like what I did last year with the Tomb of Refurbishment, but starting at a lower level.
Yeah. And realize the Dungeon 23, that at least the methods I had heard of it, like it's designed for the OSR style rules, the old school revival or revolution or whatever they're calling it. Like it is intended and designed for first and second editions. So writing it for fifth edition, doing it your way might actually be the better way of doing it.
Yeah. We'll see, because I plan to get as far as I can with it. Um, I probably have a lot more plotted out by next week,
Hmm.
and then I'm going to start some writing some stuff down.
Well, we are currently on day 8 of it, and I have 8 rooms fully written out with a 9th in my head. So
Is it January 8th already?
I know.
Did I pay my rent?
I hope so. I know I had to pay my car insurance.
Do you have a car?
Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
I don't get around here on with a wagon, you know. Yeah, a
I thought
mule.
you just had a horse.
No, I live out in the country, but I'm so far away from most things. Got to have a car.
Called a horse.
Called a horse. Yeah, I named my car Horse. All right. Well, I think that's all I got. Anything
Yep.
else?
No.
All right. Well, Cr'aig, at least until the OGL update happens, you're still employed, buddy. So
Unfortunately.
bye, guys. Fuck you, Cr'aig.